Okay, welcome to Black Hills. My name's Graham Pierce. I'm the winemaker here. We're on the Black Sage bench in Oliver, between Oliver and Osoyoos. And I want to show you guys the facility.
Now, how long have you been here?
For a year and a half. Okay. 2 vintages now.
Now, you've received a pretty prestigious award for the way this winery was constructed.
That's it. We were really fortunate to receive a Lieutenant Governor's Award for the design. The first winery actually to receive that type of award in Canada.
Now, it looks nice. Is it easy to work in?
Yeah, it's a great design. And really, instead of building a beautiful structure and then trying to figure out how to fit the winemaking into the building, we're just finishing us and pressing here. They really looked at the design and went, how can we make this the most functional we can, and then build a structure around that. So here we are right on our crush pad. We're pressing out some Syrah right now. Here we see some more grapes coming out from the press, or from the tank. Steve's got his lunch too.
So now, what all is produced here at Black Hills?
The main driver, of course, is Nota Bene, which is a Cabernet Sauvignon dominant Bordeaux blend. So of course, we also grow Merlot, Cabernet Franc, Sauvignon Blanc, Semillon, a little bit of Carmenere, and this year we've also introduced Syrah and Viognier into the lineup.
Okay. Now, what's the acreage here?
About 30 acres, 27 planted.
Okay. Now, and then tell me a little bit about your background. I know you have some, where we think the wine shows best is at the dinner table, and you have a lot of background in that before you got into the winemaking.
Exactly. Before I got into this, I was a professional chef and really got into the wine industry working at Summerhill as the chef for the winery restaurant, and then really got more and more into the actual production of the wine and everything else. Then I went to Mount Boucherie Winery on the west side of Kelowna and was the winemaker there from 2003 to 2008 before coming down here. So I'm really with you in that I really like wines that are great food wines as well. So to be able to sort of match those two together and create wines that are really food friendly and not these sort of oak bombs or big fruit bombs or tasting room wines or sometimes show wines as we call them, but don't really do so well and overpower the food or just aren't a good foil. So I think I'm really lucky to have that background and to understand sort of the food side of the equation really well.
Mm-hmm. Now, the Nota Bene pays the bills. I would suspect that also allows you guys to do probably what your niche would be, as I understand it, you're the province's only producer of Carmenere.
Yes, well, so far anyways. Another winery's got a little bit planted, and I haven't seen any in bottle yet. But yeah, exactly, that's a really fun project for us. So far we've just been doing about 125 to 150 cases. But this spring we actually grafted a little bit of Chardonnay on the north end of the block to Carmenere. So next year we'll hopefully have maybe around 400 cases, up to 500 case production on that. The grafting went really well. We're about 70% take. So it's a fun project for us too, and kind of a fun wine where there's no real benchmark so far in BC, so we're just kind of finding our way through and trying to master the viticulture first and then see what we can do with the winemaking side of it here.
So now when people ask you about Carmenere, how do you describe it? A little bit of the history of that grape.
I think you really need to go back to the history because no one really understands where it's from except for the few people that are into the Chilean ones. So we do always tell the lost grape Bordeaux story and the phylloxera story and everything else.
Another thing that people can blame Americans for, I guess.
But they solved the problem in the end, so it was a win-win, right? And now I think we're all benefiting from having everything except for Washington on rootstock.
Right.
So it was a better wines in the end of the day. Well, I mean, really, it was an amazing year because we had a super late bud break in May, but then we had fantastic weather in May and June, and really we had probably 6 to 8 gross in the first 3 weeks of, or the last 3 weeks of May anyways. So by the time we were beginning of July, we were ahead of schedule, or at least on schedule. We had Vraison at our historic time, and really in August, after Vraison, it was really warm. So things were pushing along really fast, especially the whites. So we started picking, we actually picked a small block September 3rd, which of course is super early, and then we started in earnest September 13th and just kept going with Sauvignon Blanc, Sem, and Chardonnay, and even into Merlot by September 28th. So we really saw that it was looking like a really good year, but possibly a compact year, and everything was getting really ripe fast, and there was no point in waiting around for the fruit to ripen up any more hang time. So we did pick quite a bit earlier than we did at least the last 2 vintages. We had our Cabernet Franc off by October 5th, and we were picking Syrah, and then around the 13th, 14th of October, we had below freezing, quite a bit below freezing, 3 nights in a row, so that pretty much shut everything down. So luckily for us, at that point, we had pretty much everything in. We just had to finish a little bit of Syrah, and then we had to pick the Cab Franc after the lees basically turned. But I was feeling pretty good because about a week before the weather incident, all of my Cab Sauv was 24.7 bricks and higher. The acids were great. So I really felt like the fruit was pretty ripe, and we were debating picking that week, and we just thought, well, maybe we'll just hang on a little bit longer and finish up what we have in tank and whatnot. But then once the weather changed like that, then we had to pretty much just bring everything off right away.
Right. Now, you have an interesting ownership situation here. Can you describe that? How do you describe it?
Well, there's 265 limited partners. They're all partners in the winery, and pretty much a great group of people that are really interested in continuing the sort of quality evolution to make better and better wines here. It's the number one thing when I meet the people, that they all just want to keep pushing out the quality, seeing whatever we can do to just tweak the vineyard to bring in a little bit better fruit, or things like the sorting line, new destemmer, all this kind of thing with the facility, whatever we can do to ramp up the quality here. So that's a great situation.
And Jason Priestley is among the ownership group. How often does he come here, and what sort of presence does he have?
You know, he's just one of the owners, but I mean, he's a really nice guy as well too. He's got a real keen interest in wine going back a number of years, so he really knows his stuff. Unfortunately, with his really busy schedule, he doesn't make it here too much, but certainly for a few events and pop in from time to time and just see how things are going. But he'd be the first one to say, oh, well, I don't know anything about the nuts and the bolts of the winemaking. You know, he knows a lot about great wines, and loves to enjoy them, certainly, but doesn't make any bones about coming down here and slopping out the tanks. Yeah, it's just a real slow, cautious growth, though. We did about 6,450 cases last year. This year we wanted to bring it up to about 8,000, but with all the crops being down and us being light on this piece as well, too, probably just going to hit about 7,000 cases this year. So, you know, we don't have the final case counts yet, but it's going to be a little bit lighter. Our goal eventually is to move to about 10,000 cases. So from my perspective, if we can move around about 1,000 cases a year, it's fairly easy for me to manage inside the cellar and still be able to source really good quality fruit for the expansion. For things like Nota Bene, it all comes off this site, and we're never going to change that. That's all going to be done here. You know, it's pretty tough to ripen cab in this climate, so we'd much rather bring all that fruit in from right here.
So now, what's the breakdown on estate fruit as far as the program?
It's about 75% estate right now.